night. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Who you got in this, Lewis?
Well, here's the deal, man. First of all, I've been gambling with our newfound sponsor, mybookie.ag. They gave us some dough, and I'm putting money. I'm doing a parlay on this one, and tell me what you think, because I'm going in one of two ways, and I don't know which way to pick this. Okay, because my main picks are I'm picking Stipe. I think that he's at another level now. When he lost to Junior, first of all, he lost a decision to Junior. It was a decision, right? It was.
You know what? I never saw that fight.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was a great fight. I'm almost positive it was a unanimous decision to Junior Dos Santos. But that was when Junior Dos Santos was fucking king and he was crushing people. And now Stipe is king. He's a champion. You know this yourself. There's a difference in training. It's a difference in attitude. You got that belt. You don't want to lose it. So I think Stipe Miocic is going to be able to beat him this time around. I would never bet against Joanna. She's just looked great. She's outclassing everybody. And then the parlay that I want to do is I want to do Stipe and Joanna, and then I was going to pick Yair Rodriguez over Frankie.
You're crazy.
Yeah. You said that.
No. So hold on. How many bets in the parlay? I think I saw from your Facebook post. You're doing a parlay of 3 fights, correct?
3 bets. But if I bet on Yair...
Lewis, you're absolutely crazy. Why on earth, if you were going to do a 3-fight parlay, would you pick the heavyweight title fight, the Jan Jacek title fight, and then the Edgar versus Rodriguez fight? Because the Edgar versus Rodriguez, listen, if you want to go to mybookie.ag and put $100 down on this parlay, use the promo code BELIEVE, and then it'll turn that 100 into 150.
Yeah.
The heavyweight title fight is good. Okay, I pick Miocic in that fight. I just think, as for all the reasons you said, he's on a roll these days. He lost before, but he's really coming into his prime. He's an incredible wrestler. He's boxing. He's great. He's knocking people out these days. His confidence is sky high, and I think he's the best heavyweight in the best athlete, pardon me, in the heavyweight division. So I see Stipe as a good pick in that fight. Also, Junior Dos Santos, he was never really the same after those wars with Cain Velasquez. Those beatings he took of Cain Velasquez. I mean, I'm looking at a picture of Junior Dos Santos now, and I think his head is still misshapen from the beating he took from Cain Velasquez. It looks very unusual. It's a very strange shaped head he has there. So anyway, Stipe Miocic is my pick there. Jan Jacek, again, she's going to beat Jessica Andrade. Jan Jacek's on another level. If you want to pick a 3rd fight for that parlay, so you reel it in from mybookie.ag and you use the promo code BELIEVE and you turn that money into a shit ton of dough and you can go celebrate, the fight that is a dead cert is the Maia versus Masvidal. Demian Maia versus Jorge Masvidal. Maia wins that fight all day long. Okay, George Masvidal, you little prick, talking shit about A, not only me, B, our podcast.
Oh yeah,
and we'll get onto that in a little bit. The Edgar Rodriguez fight, that's tough, man. You never know, because Frankie Edgar, it's Frankie Edgar. We all know how good Frankie Edgar is, but Yair Rodriguez, he may be the next champion in waiting. We just don't know. He looks amazing. So that's a really, really tough fight. It's an interesting fight. It's a fight that could go either way. And it's a fight that's going to tell us a lot about the future of Yair Rodriguez. And we don't know what his potential is yet. We will after this fight with Frankie Edgar. The fight, if you wanted to complete your parlay, go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code BELIEVE, get an extra 50% on your booking money, get a 3-fight parlay, and get a significantly higher chance of winning would be to use Demian Maia versus George Masvidal, because Maia has got so much better at wrestling. He's so much better at 170. And I just don't see Masvidal knocking him out. Maia's going to get his hands on him. He's going to take him to the ground. And he's going to choke him out. He's going to suffocate him. He's going to stick that little Cubano. He's going to roll him up like a cigar. Simple as that.
So, look, I think you're right, by the way. And I did concede this before we even did the show. The problem is you can't really bet against Frankie. I think Yair might be... Hold on.
You just said you can't really bet against Frankie, but you picked Yair.
Well, hold on. I was kind of getting into it where initially I had said this. Here's the thing. I think Yair might be the next fucking level dude, right? I think he might be the guy to come out and really make some noise at 145, right? And I think the UFC thinks that as well. That's why they're giving him the Frankie Edgar fight. They want Yair Rodriguez to beat Frankie Edgar, right? They really do. They want to make a star out of this kid. Frankie's been in the spotlight so many times that they need somebody fresh and they need somebody new. So they would love Yair to knock out Frankie Edgar. The problem is Frankie Edgar is a guy who could be champion at 155, 145, 135 any given Sunday. He's real deal, man. So to bet against him is a bad idea, and I agree with you on that. I'm just saying I'm kind of picking Yair because I do think he's next level. If that bet were to win, I would get $800 in profit off of a $150 bet. If I pick Maia, I get a $700 profit off a $150 bet if I do that parlay.
Oh, that's because he's a bigger favorite. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I agree. I think Maia's a safer bet, and I do agree with you about Jorge Masvidal. Which, by the way, I can't shit on Jorge Masvidal because is it Jorge or George?
I don't know. You could say either. I mean, listen, you're the Puerto Rican, so what would you say?
I'm really a bad Puerto Rican, by the way. Like, I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
I have no culture. I'm nothing.
You're pathetic. You fail.
My name is pronounced Luis, technically, but I call myself Luis J. Gomez.
Yeah, because you're an asshole because you stick a J in the middle just because it sounds fancy.
Yeah. Well, no, because Luis Gomez can sound like any fucking janitor in your building. And
yeah, hold on. My last name is Galen Bisping. It's a double-barrel surname, which sounds very posh and impressive. I could say Michael Galen Bisping or Michael G. Bisping or whatever. But guess what? I'm not a twat, so I don't. I just say Michael Bisping, and you could say Luis Gomez.
Talking a lot of shit across the country or across the pond, Michael Bisping. You wouldn't be talking this shit if you were in studio with me.
Luis J. Gomez.
First of all, your fucking name is Bisping. You're the only human being with the last name Bisping. It's a very unique name. So yeah, if I had a unique last name, I would just keep it. But I need to stand out in the world of entertainment, Michael.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that. I'll let you off the hook.
Yeah.
But for everybody listening, if you do want to make bets, if you want to make the fights more exciting, go to mybookie.ag and use the promo code BELIEVE. They will give you an extra 50% on your booking of money to play with. Of course, mybookie.ag makes it so much simpler. It's so easy that even knuckleheads like Luis J. Gomez can do it, and Michael Galen Bisping can also do it. So check it out. Don't miss it. Jorge, George, whatever he's called, Dickwad Masvidal. What was he saying about the podcast?
Okay, so this is the deal, right? First of all, it all came off of a misunderstanding because you picked Maia to beat him, okay? And you didn't pick it in a shitty way. I remember the conversation.
No. I didn't pick Maia to beat him. I said GSP's plan is that he's going to beat me.
Oh, right.
And he thinks Maia is going to beat Masvidal, and then Maia will beat Tyron Woodley when he gets his shot. And then by then, he'll go down and he'll beat Demian Maia. That's what I said. That's how GSP sees this playing out. And Knucklehead over there, Masvidal, too busy spending time grooming his beard as opposed to actually reading the statement that I put out there, or the excerpt that all these shitty clickbait sites put out there of this podcast. Too busy trimming his beard and picking out women's Rolexes. He just decided to jump down my throat and talk a little smack.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The thing that he, at first he was like, kiss your balls, what a coward, blah, blah, blah. Saying you're avoiding Romero. But then the thing that he said that really got me upset, because somebody tagged me in this. He said, Bisping is salty. I didn't go on his 14-person total audience podcast. Sorry, I'm not trying to help you get famous, LOL. Hashtag UK loves game bread. Now, here's the deal. Like, let me say this, okay? We have more than 14 listeners. We don't got to get into the numbers, but it is more than 14. We're not going to get into the numbers,
but we are crushing it big time. We have many, many listeners, and we are hitting the top of those charts. But go ahead.
But here he's kind of saying, all right, two things that I'm going to say to his statement, okay? Number one, we've never invited him on this podcast. We've never invited him on the radio show. Maybe Josh at SiriusXM tried to get him on the radio show, and he's confusing the two. But we don't book that. We weren't searching Jorge Masvidal out. Like, that's the producers at SiriusXM. They set up interviews, and we kind of approve them or don't approve them. And, of course, we would interview Jorge Masvidal. He's a UFC superstar. He's, fighting for a #1 contender.
Whoa. He's not a UFC superstar. He is a young talent that until really when he knocked out Donald Cerrone, I wasn't over familiar with who he is. So use the term superstar lightly, my friend.
He's a UFC fighter that is fighting on main cards.
He is a member of the UFC roster. He has competed in the UFC, although it didn't really resonate with the fans.
That's a better way to describe it. He is a guy who, I won't call him a UFC fighter. I'll say that he's fought in the UFC. But, you know.
Yeah, how much can we discredit that? How less impressive can we make it sound?
Yeah. But here's the thing.
He was known to sign a UFC contract, although the UFC did it under duress because of his association with Yoel Romero, and they had no choice to put him on a card. So in that sense, yes, he was a member of the roster. Yeah.
Well, we don't want to say what we heard behind the scenes, that we heard that him and his Cuban gang members strong-armed Dana White and held his hand down to the piece of paper and made him sign it with his hand. We won't say that. We won't start that rumor, but there's we've heard that happened.
I heard it happen on great authority. But also the nerve of this guy is like, oh, yeah, sorry, he doesn't want to make our podcast famous. Like Jorge Masvidal or Jorge. Look, we don't even know how to say his name.
That's the point, though. He's got 32,000 Twitter followers.
We don't even know how to say his goddamn name. And the guy's got about, you know, for the average guy, I guess he's good. He's got about 10, 15,000 Twitter followers.
No, he's got 32,000. He's got 32,000. You've got 300,000 over that. You've got a third of a million Twitter followers. How is Jorge Masvidal making our show more famous? I've got 20,000 Twitter followers, and I'm an unknown comedian basically. He's a fucking UFC associated fighter, and he's only got 32K6. I'm coming for your number, Jorge. Don't you worry. As soon as the second I pass Jorge Masvidal on Twitter followers, that's it. We're both more famous than him, and then it's over. Then it's over.
Jorge Masvidal should be ashamed of himself for those ridiculously low Twitter numbers. I actually feel sorry for him, and I will say a prayer for him tonight.
We should have our followers go follow him. That's it. How about this, guys? We feel bad for Jorge Masvidal, so we want you guys to go follow him and tell him that the Believe You Me podcast, we don't harbor any resentment, and we want to get him more fans. We want to make him more famous. How about that?
And the funny thing is about all of this is that we're actually joking. We're sitting here, I've got a stupid smirk on my face, and you're joking, you're a comedian. This knucklehead will hear all this or be told about it. He won't read it. He'll heard it from a third or fourth party. And apparently he's like, "Ooh, you don't mess with Jorge Masvidal. He's a crazy street fighter. He's hardcore. He doesn't fuck around." So he'll be like smashing up his hotel room or whatever, going, "When I see Bisping, I'm going to kill him."
Yeah.
But it's like, whatever, dude. Shut up.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny part. Like, I truly just can't go to Miami anymore because I'm not a fighter and he will kill me. Here's the thing. You're going to encounter these people.
To Miami. I wanted to go. So you say Miami's off the cards for me now, is it?
No, not for you. For you, you're okay. You could do whatever you want. You're the UFC middleweight champion. I think you'd smoke Masvidal. Me, I think I'd have problems. I think I'd have a few problems.
What if I got shanked?
That's also there's a 50-50 shot that could happen. Did you see the video of him fighting back in the day, like a Kimbo Slice video? That's the first time I ever heard of Jorge Masvidal. He was fighting in a backyard Miami bare knuckle brawl, and he beat up this big fucking black dude. And I was like, this dude is badass. And then he started fighting in Strikeforce, and I was like, oh, I loved him. I was a fan of his because of all that. I love the fact a dude from the streets that would literally just come out and bear. It's stupid, don't get me wrong, but it's still a badass thing. We're talking earlier on in the night about fighters, everyone in the middleweight division, not just manning up and saying, fuck it, bring me whoever. He literally showed up bare knuckles, fought a guy that outweighed him by 60 pounds, beat him up. He was already, fighting in MMA. I mean, that was like really fucking cool as a fan to watch. And then he goes and shits on the podcast. What am I going to do?
Lewis, you need to be consistent with the flow of your conversation, because 1 minute we're shitting on him and the next minute you're bigging him up. Which is it, Lewis? You need to be consistent here.
I'm torn.